Have you seen this video?
I was at the Worldcon panel where someone asked George R.R. Martin, hey, since you're not going to be around much longer, can you let someone else finish your series? Okay, it's hilarious. It's also, not justified. I don't think anyone deserves to be asked a question like that, especially someone who has given us so many books and so much work and art, right? But that being said, if you were in that room for that panel, that question probably wouldn't be very surprising that someone asked that. The panel was 2 hours of George R. R. Martin being an asshole. He was a mic hog, and he was directing a ton of insults and jabs right at Brandon Sanderson. And let's be real, most of the people in the audience were there to see Brandon, not to see George. So you're in a room full of Brandon fans, and you're insulting him directly over and over again for 2 hours. Yeah, the audience was grumbling. I know the people, at least in my row, had jaws open. The jaws were dropped. If this video hits Cosmere TikTok, I can go into these insults in more depth. But if you're not a fan, they might kind of go over your head anyway. Also, the video, there is a video posted of the panel, but I just don't know if the subtleties of the tone and how the audience was responding will translate in the video. So yeah, I just wanted to give my 2 cents to anybody that was interested that that question was not off kilter. That question was 2 hours of being irritated at George and it bubbling over. So yeah, it was a little intense.
So I saw this around a month ago, and at the time I was really sad to hear that George R. R. Martin was acting like this on a panel in front of a live audience. But then earlier this week, I saw that the full panel was uploaded to YouTube. So I took the time to just see what was being talked about, what was George saying, and how bad was it really. And after watching it, my view on this has completely changed, and that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, because I think that a lot of what was said in this video and the follow-up video that she posted that takes about 10 minutes to talk about everything that George said was misrepresenting the panel itself and everything George said. So I wanted to take some time to kind of cut in between the clips of what she represented George as saying, and then let you see what George actually said in the panel at the time, and just kind of let you decide what your opinion is on this content creator's video and how, again, she represented the entire panel. Because that is the main topic of this video today, is we need to do a little more research. And I am completely guilty of this in this case and in many other cases, just like everybody else. But to see the amount of hate towards George on this video in the comment section is super saddening, especially when you realize if this content creator hadn't made this video, this panel would have seemed like a normal panel. And I also want to go into it by saying, I don't know if this is 100% of the footage from the panel. I did not see this video in the panel.
George, you're not going to be around for much longer. And this is a tough question that I wanted to ask. This is more directed at Brandon. No. Wait, I was wondering, how would you feel about someone else taking over and finishing the books?
So I can't say in good conscience that this is the full 100% panel, uncut all the way through, but I can say that this is a vast majority of the panel, because she states that it's a 2-hour long panel. This particular video that I'm watching that was uploaded to Brandon Sanderson's YouTube channel, I think rings in at about an hour and 52 minutes. So it is a vast majority, and it could even be everything that was included in between that panel and then audience questions. But anyways, I don't want to really talk about it too much more. I just want to kind of jump into it and start off with her first point.
I'm here with a full page of notes. I have been summoned. Okay, so just to preface this by saying, let's keep it civil in the comments, guys. I'm not, coming out for George. I'm just telling you that I was a little bummed at this panel of his kind of arrogance and his behavior, and I was not a big fan, which makes me sad, because I actually am a moderate fan of, Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones and all of that.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of people to see this. This is more just me having fun, making a video on something that I was genuinely kind of upset about seeing. If you do see this, this content creator doesn't really deserve any hate. I just want this to be a warning to everyone to just look into things a little more. Don't just take content creators or someone on the internet's word at face value and then just assume that it's true. Because, and I know this is like a tale as old as time. Like, don't, like, do your own research. But this example is just so blatantly insane, in my opinion, that I just had to share it.
So I will try to do this as succinctly as possible and go through my notes, and I will categorize them at the top. Okay, part 1 is he like opened the panel with, "Hi, I'm George, and yes, I'm working on it. Okay, I'm writing. I'm allowed to take 2 days off for this convention."
Now, I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to let you see what George said on the panel for his introduction.
Hi, I'm George R. R. Martin, and let's see, I've written
some stuff.
A Song of Ice and Fire. I know it's 14 years late. Please, don't. I'm working on it, and but I took this weekend off to be here. So,
if it isn't already blatantly obvious, the tonal shift between George R. R. Martin speaking and this creator's version of how he is saying it, it is vastly different, and that is the tone for the entire video. Hers comes off as he is being very aggressive, very in your face. Yes, I know. Please get off my back about it. Whereas he is like self-deprecating, like, it's been a while. Yeah, I took a couple of days to be off to be here, but yeah, that's just going to be the trend for this entire video. And I didn't really say this in the beginning, but there were over 500,000 people who saw this original video. There were another 82,000 who saw the video that we are going to be breaking down right now. And the original video has 45,000 likes and over 900 comments, and a lot of them are very negative towards George. A lot of them are just writing it off as, oh yeah, he's an asshole. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say George is a perfect person. I'm not going to sit here and say that he is anything. I'm just saying, from what was represented in this video and what I've seen, I don't think that this is a fair look at the panel overall.
And then in general, just overall behavior, he really hogged the mic. He talked the most out of anyone else on the panel. He kept like talking even like when it wasn't his turn to talk, and then he would occasionally actually like interrupt people or talk over them. I just, as a woman, I noticed this happened especially with the other women. So he was seated right next to Robin Hobb, who is, if you don't know, a very prolific author in the same like era as him. She's about the same age as him, and she was right next to him. And whenever like she would say something, like he would kind of like elbow her or, oh yeah, and then like take his mic and like start talking. So I don't know. I'm maybe hypersensitive to that kind of stuff as a woman.
Okay, so for this, I can't really speak as much on him elbowing Robin Hobb because the cameras don't show every minute. I mean, they show the panelists when they're speaking, and from what I could tell, I did not really notice that at all. There was at one point where she was talking about magic, and after she had gotten done speaking, he had elbowed her, or like not even elbowed her, I think tapped her on the shoulder and was like showing him his phone, and he was like, "Can you teach me how this kind of magic works?" And so then that was like a comical thing where they were all laughing about that. But from the most part, I don't think he really hogged the mic at all, because the form of the panel was actually a podcast episode. So I think you should be willing to expect some form of back and forth in between the authors and the hosts. But I don't even think he really interrupted people many times. Sure, he may have talked over a couple of people. I think there might have even been people talking during his portion that he just kind of talked over. And I don't think it was even on purpose. But it was more so of like when someone would finish, he would jump in and talk and kind of bounce off of what they were saying. And I think that is perfectly acceptable in this kind of panel, because it's a podcast. You want to sit here and see what these artists think about different writing styles and all this stuff. You want to kind of see them respond. And we'll talk more about that in a minute, because she brings up another point. But I think that is something perfectly acceptable to do. And also, in the portions where he was talking, he did talk a little longer. But that's just because that's who George is. He's made a life of talking about things and responding to people and giving lengthy answers. So, yeah, he might give a little bit lengthier of an answer, but there were 15, 20-minute periods where he didn't say a word. It's hard to gather all my thoughts after watching like a minute of this video. So let's just continue on.
Rebecca Roanhorse was there, who maybe talked like twice in the whole panel, which is kind of funny and ironic, that they gave her hardly any time to speak. I think this is actually part of the fault of the moderators as well. It's funny because she wins the Hugo Award, which is what we're at the convention for Best Series, like 2 days later. So it's kind of funny that they asked her maybe like 2 questions in 2 hours, and she literally won Best Series like that same weekend. So I'm like, okay.
She did speak more than twice. She talked a good bit. I want to say everyone on the panel talked a decent amount. And she specifically says that the moderators directed 2 questions at her, roughly. Maybe she meant a little more, maybe a little, I don't know. But that is also not true, because if you watch the panel, there's a formula to this whole panel where they ask a question and then everyone answers. So if she did not talk a lot, it was because her answers just weren't as lengthy as other people's. It wasn't the host not giving her a chance to speak. It was just she said what she had to say, and then she let the question go on to the next person. I don't think that was anyone's fault. I don't even think that it's a topic worth bringing up, because I do genuinely think that she had a good bit to say about a lot of the topics.
Okay, back to George. There were like 3 main like questions or topics that kind of just gave me the ick. The first one had to do with magic systems, and so the moderator asked about like magic systems, especially hard magic systems versus soft, and of course that's up Brandon Sanderson's alley. So they asked him specifically, talk about your magic systems, like why do you do hard magic systems, like what inspires you, like how do you develop these? And he had a really thoughtful answer of just like, I love science and I love treating like magic like a science and having rules, because then it's a challenge to have the characters navigate those rules and keep things still interesting, and keep the story moving even though there's rules in place. George like grabs the mic and he said, let me see my notes. He says he hates hard magic systems. He thinks they're dumb. He doesn't enjoy reading them, and he thinks that it's a mistake for anyone to write them like in their books. He thinks it's just a bad idea, and if you write like a hard magic system in your book, like I don't know, it's not going to go well for you.
So before I show you the George R. R. Martin clip in question, please listen out for George saying anything about thinking that magic systems are dumb. He does specify that he doesn't like using them and he doesn't think that they're really helpful to the story. But again, these are all his opinions and his responses to Brandon. And I think it's perfectly acceptable within the realm of this panel podcast based questioning to give your opinion on these things. And I mean, everyone's giving their opinions already. It's just George's opinion doesn't directly align with Brandon's, and that's fine. Or he even specifies in the beginning and the end of his response that people are going to read what they like to read. People enjoy that, so they read that. So let's see what his response is.
The readers react to this differently too, and there are definitely schools of this. I've been on many panels at conventions about people who have devised elaborate magic systems, and they're very proud of this, and the readers are excited by this wonderful, innovative magic system that they have created. But no, I don't have a magic system that I have created. I don't think you should. I don't find it helps. If you look at Tolkien, and there's epic fantasy, there's high magic and low magic. Tolkien is actually quite low magic. I mean, Gandalf may be a wizard, but what does he do that's wizardly? I mean, they're in Moria, and here come 100,000 orcs, and they're going to get killed and eaten. What does Gandalf do? He pulls out Glamdring, his sword, and he stands shoulder to shoulder with Boromir and Aragorn and these hobbits, and they try to fight their way through the orcs. he doesn't just wiggle his fingers or raise his staff and make the orcs melt or anything. Gandalf is wise. He knows things. But it's not big magic, really. Even Sauron, he's the ultimate dark, evil kind of guy, and he's a big eye. And what does he do? He can't even in the battle. He gets his arm cut off, and the ring is lost by just a guy with a sword. A guy with a sword, not a magic sword, but just a sword. But it all works. It's powerful, and I think magic. If you look at the real world, I have to say, I don't know. Some of you may be wizards or pagans or witches or something, and you actually believe in magic. I bet people like that, but I don't. And I don't think magic really works. These magic systems are fake science, it's J.D. Rowling magic, where you can go to Hogwarts and you can take a course in spellcasting or mixing potions or how to properly summon the demon. No, that stuff is dangerous and uncertain, and you can look at it and who knows, will it work for you or not, or will the cost of it be worth, or will it be a total bullshit? I don't know. I like that. So no, but the people who like elaborate magic systems, the fans who like it, the readers who like it, they're welcome to do it, but it's not for me.
Again, I want to bring up, did he say dumb at any point in that explanation? No. I feel like that is where she's just misremembering a lot of things. And I just want to say that's where my biggest gripe about this entire situation is. It's all about her tone. The way that she tones George in what he says. And she does throw some words in here. Again, in the next few minutes, we're going to see one where it's like, I don't even know if she was paying attention, because she wildly gets one topic wrong.
Ryan Cahill actually was kind of like almost like the go-between between the two a few times. And he's like, yeah, well, like hard magic systems are actually like really difficult because you can't build as much like mystery and suspense if the rules are out in the open, And then George picked up the mic again and said, no. He said no. He said he just likes to make up magic however he wants, and that's his go-to. He has no rules for his magic, no like reason for his magic. If he wants magic to be a thing in the plot, he just makes it up, and that's what he's happy doing.
At this point, Ryan Cahill does kind of interject a little bit and talk about like a little bit of both, how he likes to approach mystery and a system in his magic. And he does kind of like make a good middle ground between the two. But when she states that George R.R. Martin just picks up the mic and says no and says all these things, this is where I'm not too sure if they've edited anything out, because in this video that I've seen, he does not respond anymore about this topic. He does talk about how in his books he doesn't really like to think of his magic as a magic system. It's just something that is very mysterious, and he does say that in the first part when he is actually talking about it, and it's in that clip that I showed you. So I'm not sure if maybe she's misremembering it and he just didn't say no at all, or if they edited it out and he did respond again. Both is possible. I don't want to say it's completely out of the possibility, but it's not something I saw, so it's not really something I can talk about. When he says these magic systems are fake science, I took that as more of like a joke. And you did even hear people laughing in the audience.
Okay, topic number 2, category number 2. He told some weird stories about Santa and Jesus. He told this like 10-minute story about how when he was like 7 years old, he came downstairs like Christmas Eve, and he told his parents, Mom, Dad, Santa's not real, right? Like there's not like an imaginary man that comes into our house, right? And his parents said, you know what, George, you're right. Just don't tell your sisters, but you're just so smart. You figured it out, And then he tells the story about a year later, he's 8, and he came downstairs and told his parents, hey, so that man named Jesus, that's all make-believe, right? Like, that's bullshit too, right? Like, there's no man named Jesus. Like, just stupid people made that up, right? And his parents went, yeah, George, you're right. You're just too smart for your own good. And then he kind of connected that to his worlds about how he thinks, religion is just all made up. And so in his books, he just makes up religion because that's how all religions are. And
We're just going straight into the clip on this one.
To discuss magic, and very few fantasy writers do this, but it gets you into religion, Does your fantasy world have gods and archangels and other kind of things that are going around? And what sort of powers do they actually have? I think I got corrupted on some of these issues when I was a small kid. I was like 7 years old, I believe, and I was a pretty smart kid. And I came to my parents one day and said, I don't think there is a Santa Claus. It doesn't make sense. We don't have a fireplace. How does he get to our house? And how does he get to every child in the world in one night? And reindeers don't fly. I know this stuff. And they said, oh, yeah, you're a very smart kid, George. And yeah, don't tell your sisters, they're young. They want to believe in Santa. Don't spoil it for them. So I didn't, okay, but there was no Santa Claus, and I knew that kind of early on. But then I made a mistake. A year later, having been praised for that, I applied the same standards, and I said, there's no Jesus either, is there? He did this walking on water and raising people from the dead. If he could raise Lazarus from the dead, why didn't he raise everybody from the dead? And they were not happy with that revelation.
The existential
so you got
questions
to
we
be
get
careful
to
here
as
in
children.
these fantasy
Yeah.
worlds, whether Jesus or Santa ever shows up.
like, that's bullshit too, right? Like, there's no man named Jesus. Like, just stupid people made that up, right?
That story was not 10 minutes. It was more maybe like 3. And I want to specifically point to the section of the video where he talks about Jesus not being real and his parents' reaction of not particularly enjoying that revelation. He never said it was even true. He just said that it was a revelation in his mind at the age of 8. And his parents were not happy about it. But in her version of it, the parents respond, oh, you're so smart. You know everything, all this stuff. So that is like the big point where I'm like, were you paying attention? Did you actually hear what he was saying? The other things she went on to say about him using religion as whatever in his world, he doesn't really like it is all this fake stuff. That was the last thing he said. So again, if it's cut out, it's cut out. There's nothing I can do about that. But from what I'm getting, that was something else that he did not say.
Like, that story was just kind of off-putting. He was, like, laughing and dropping a lot of F-bombs about, like, how brilliant he was at 8 years old that he knew Jesus wasn't real.
He did not cuss one time in that story, as you heard. He did cuss in the panel, but there were also other people cussing in the panel. So I don't know why this was something that was mentioned either at this story, because he didn't really cuss at all in the story, as you saw.
Obviously, like, he's saying this sitting across from a Mormon, so, but this connects to an even more awkward moment, I thought, about 20 minutes later, where unprompted, like, this wasn't a question, unprompted, George picks up the mic and goes, Brandon, you're Mormon, right? He said, how do you deal with that? How have you handled that kind of damage to your career?
So this is another thing that I can't talk about, because if it was edited out, I couldn't have seen it, but it was not present in the video. So either she is just saying this for no reason at all, with no basis whatsoever, or it was cut. And this could be something that was probably a little more touchy, so they could have cut this. I wouldn't be surprised if they did cut it, but I'm also not surprised at the comment itself, because again, I can see it being something George said, like as a joke, not even being serious, not even trying to offend Brandon, but just him being like, oh, you're Mormon, right? So how'd you deal with that? Like, what kind of damage has that done, as a joke? And I don't think this was meant to come off as a slight anyways. And I would even expect Brandon's reply to just also be like bouncing off of the joke and like being pretty normal about it.
I felt a little for Brandon. I know people are gonna have to.
Someone liked my comment because on the YouTube video I made timestamps for my different points, and someone liked it. So apparently someone's thinking the same thing.
Okay, last like big category had to do with indie publishing. So that was a question of just like, hey, like this is kind of a new world where more authors are getting published like through independent means or just like on their own, through, you know, ebooks or things like that. How do you navigate that space? And I think it went to Ryan first because Ryan, from my understanding, like started as an indie published author and found a lot of success. So he was like, oh my God, like it's been great for me. Like I probably wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have the opportunity to publish on my own and blah, blah, blah. And then
I cut off here because they did cut to Ryan Cahill at some point, but I even feel like she's not only misrepresenting what George is saying, in this instance, she's misrepresenting what he said, because he didn't say that necessarily. I'm sure he feels that way, but he didn't say that. He referenced that you could probably, as an indie author, do everything he did the exact same way, and you probably would still find a different scenario. You might not be successful. You might be more successful. That was his direction towards it, being, oh yes, it's a very unsure thing. Like you can do everything I did and you still might not make it. So I don't know where she's getting this from, because, and maybe it's cut out. I mean, we're getting to the point where if this is a 2-hour panel, this video is an hour and 52 minutes. We have about 8 minutes to play with. There's a lot going on in that 8 minutes. And I don't see that would be something that they would cut out. Him praising it and being like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I would think that would be something they would leave in. But that's not at all what happens in this video. Please go watch it. I'll try to link the video that I watched and show the timestamps that you can go to, or just watch the whole thing. But yeah, it's getting really like misrepresented in a lot of ways.
And then they turn to Brandon because Brandon has had the largest Kickstarter in history for his books, right? And he's got Dragonsteel. He has his own company and publishing company just for his books, right? So Brandon shared that story about how I think it was like 10 years ago or so, they were having some issues with Kindle and getting ebooks on Amazon, and Amazon didn't want to like have certain ebooks from certain publishers, and that kind of scared Brandon of like, oh, I need to like foolproof my system and make sure that I'm secure in how my books are reaching my fans. I can't like depend on Amazon. And so he started the company, and he found a lot of success through like these Kickstarter campaigns and like connecting with fans directly. Okay, so that's the context. George said, once again, I don't think they asked George this question. I think he just jumped in. He said, my job is to write. I'm not doing anything else. I am not doing social media, and I don't care like about the business side at all. He's like, he basically was saying like, I am here just to write books. Everything else is out of my hands. I don't care. I don't want to do it.
I went back. I originally listened to this. I wasn't watching the video, so I even went back and went through all of George's responses to the questions, and I can't find where he said this. Maybe if you watch it in more depth, again, this was my second pass through, so maybe I missed it. If you saw anything, let me know, but I couldn't find it.
And I think like Ryan like jumped in again and was like, well, it's a great way to like connect directly with your readers and stuff. And then George went on another rant about social media. He's like, well, not all of us can just do social media, and I can't be expected to do that. And he started getting like real snippy.
Again, look if you want. I couldn't find this. The only thing that I could find where George was referencing anything about the internet was this clip.
Brandon, you're obviously a master of this internet thing, and God, the stuff you've done on it is amazing, but not everybody can do that. And sometimes doing what somebody else has done doesn't work.
Again, and if you want to watch that full clip, you can. He goes on to talk about how John Scholes, he basically got his book read on the internet because he had originally posted a cat bacon thing, and it got him a lot of followers, and John Scalzi himself credited this to the reason that a lot of people read his books. But he didn't say anything negative about the internet side of all this stuff or the business side of all this stuff. He was even complimenting Brandon on how good he is at it. So if he did say anything negative, it's cut out. I would love to see if somebody has like a full unedited version of the panel, because I would love to go back and rewatch that as well, see if there's any of this in there and see if I'm wrong on any of this. But I don't have that as of right now. I will continue. If you know of it, please let me know and I will look into it. But
and then he kind of went on a rant about indie publishing in general. He said that indie publishing is full of bad books that should have never seen the light of day. And just because like you managed to get a book printed doesn't mean it's good.
which is a very true statement. I think even multiple people, like, I think I could be wrong on this, so don't take this as like fact, but I think Robin Hobb agreed with him to an extent. But that's not false. Indie books can be bad. He even states that non-indie books can be bad.
And there are some indie published books that are great books, but a lot of them are not great books, and that's why they're not selling to traditional publishers. They're flawed books. They're weak books. There's a lot that, and that's true of traditional publishing too. I mean, editors, don't think an editor sits there and just reads one great book after another. They love to find one great book after they read 40 books that are not so great and are very derivative. In some cases, are actually plagiarisms. So it's tough,
And that is something that is true. I mean, people can publish whatever in the indie space, and it does, like, at that point, I don't know. I don't really know how else to say it than other than that is a true statement. I just feel like she tried to twist it in a way where it sounded a lot more negative than how he actually said it.
And then he made a specific jab towards some author that was like at the convention. I don't know if he had like a table or a booth or something. He's like, you guys have probably seen so-and-so, just dropped his name. You've probably seen so-and-so downstairs trying to get his book picked up by some publisher or something.
there's a convention I go to every year where there's a guy who's been indie publishing for like, 10 years. He has his own book out. And we go into the dealer's room, and there he sits. He's got a table, and he's got his book stacked high.
He's here at every convention, just harassing people, trying to get his book published.
And I don't know if he's ever sold a copy. I know when you go in the dealer's room, people don't want to make eye contact with him because he's going to try to sell you his book.
And I hate to break it to him, but there's a reason no one cares. There's a reason no one wants to read your book, and that it sucks.
And there are a lot more of those people, I think, than other people.
So at this point, to me, it just, like, watching it just becomes disheartening because of how much it is, how extreme it is, what she's saying. Because he did not say, you're not going to sell this book because it sucks. In my mind, this was a cautionary tale to a lot of people trying to indie publish a book, because he says this is the reality for a lot of people. There's a lot of people who experience this more than making it big. And to just hear what she is saying, it just is, it's sad to see that, like, there's a lot of people who just think he said this, that he thinks this guy sucks. If you look back at it again, you'll see he did not name drop this person. He did not say this person's name. The only name that he dropped the entire time in this whole panel was Steve Donaldson, and talking about how he received 40 rejections. I can even play you the clip.
It's tough. It's competitive. It's Steven Donaldson, more than 40 rejections for the Covenant books. And he wrote those books. He wrote the entire trilogy before he started sending it out.
And he talks about Steven Donaldson multiple times in this panel, but every single time it's talking about how Steven Donaldson got all these rejections, but Steven Donaldson also published these books. He's also, I guess a major success. I've never read the books, but he published these books, and he even had his editor replaced because his editor wanted to change things about his book and he would not stand for it and all this. And so he's name dropping Steven Donaldson in a positive way. So I don't know if that's what she's getting confused about between these two stories, but if this is the full video, and I did not see any cuts in this story, he did not name drop this author. He did not say anything even negative. He didn't even say anything bad about the book. He just stated that this individual went down this route and he is not having the best time at it. And it's just gathering evidence to my main point, and we'll talk about it more here in a minute.
So I felt bad for that guy. I don't know this guy at all. I don't know if his book is any good, but I felt bad that George R. R. Martin on a stage in front of people and recorded was like, yeah, this guy's bullshit and he's whatever. So okay, that's my notes. I tried my hardest to get this down as quickly as possible. I'm sorry, it's a long video. I will try to maybe put like a little summary too in the caption to help organize this. I did my best, but I would love to hear in the comments, civilly, respectfully, what you think of his notes. Do you think it was kind of leaning more towards like arrogance and kind of being a jerk, or was it just banter? I don't know. It felt more tense than banter. Like if you were in the room with that, and I don't know if it's gonna like translate on camera when like the full recording comes out, but when you're in the room and he's like saying these comments and like taking over and interrupting people and telling these weird stories about how, you know, people who are Christian are stupid, and it was just not a great tone. It was the guy next to me. Oh, sorry, one more thing. The guy next to me, we were packed in there like sardines. I didn't know this guy. I never said a word to him the whole time. When he was rambling, I think, about the Santa and the Jesus story, he like said under his breath, he's like, this guy is just too old for this.
I want, if you have access to this full unedited panel, please record the part where he says Christians are stupid and send it, please. I want to get my hands on this because I really want to hear everything that was said. And I think she pretty much just goes from there to end it. But that is after seeing all this is my main point. She seriously missed the tone of what he was saying. She even went on to say things that were never even said. I think this was a horrible way to talk about this entire panel. And I'll even go as far to say that if I had never seen this video and then I watched the panel, I would have thought it was a normal panel. I would not have second guessed a single thing about it. That's pretty much it. I mean, if you guys were there, or if you have the full video and I'm not seeing the full picture, please let me know. Again, I'd love to see the full video, but I just don't want to see all this hate coming towards George based off of someone's video that isn't accurate whatsoever. If you are making these types of videos, please just be more cautious, be more accurate with how you present this stuff. Don't just be like, oh yeah, I said this, and then it's wildly inaccurate and not even what he said and toned completely wrong, because that can be dangerous. That can be damaging. I mean, George R. R. Martin is an extremely successful author, so I mean, it's probably not going to be denting anything in his career, but I mean, this is probably doing something. Like, I mean, there's going to be people who are never going to want to read anything from him now, possibly because of the fact that people think he's just a complete asshole. And again, he might be, I don't know, but based off of what I just watched, he's not. I just want people to try to do better about spreading information and doing their own research, and I'm going to attempt to do it better myself. Again, I'm not going to sit here and act like I am completely faultless in this, because this originally got me. So if you enjoyed it, let me know what your thoughts are, and I might post again. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah.
I said this earlier, write what you want to read, write the things you love. If you're lucky, other people will also love them and you'll find an audience.